So Skate 4 just came out just a few days ago, and already I've gotten a shit ton of YouTube shorts, and I've seen videos of people talking about how good this game is and how much they love it, but then immediately I'll scroll down just an inch or two, and people will be like, this game is awful, one of the worst in the world, I can't believe it's this bad. And I have watched some of those videos, and I don't get the argument at all because it doesn't make sense even in the slightest. I've seen arguments that can immediately be considered invalid by just reading the roadmap. I think when you need to talk about what this game is, what there is in the game and what there is coming and what there can be and this and that, pros and cons, you need to sit down and think about what really is this game and what is this supposed to be versus what is it currently. Obviously, the biggest comparison to this game was always going to be Skate 3. That was one of people's biggest games of all time. That's what got them into skating as like a thing and to kind of, I guess, quote, a culture to an extent. Now, personally, that's not what got me into it. When I was a kid, maybe not even 6 years old, we had, I want to say, a PlayStation 2, maybe 1, I don't remember. It's a very fuzzy memory, I can't remember exactly. But we had the old Tony Hawk games, and I loved the shit out of those games. I played those all the goddamn time. And currently, I'm not the biggest Tony Hawk fan. I don't really care for his games. But at the same time, when I got my first Xbox, my Xbox 360, Skate 3 was one of the first games I ever got. And I grew up with the game. It's what introduced me to a lot of it because I was older and kind of could grasp more of an idea because I had object permanence. So obviously when this game was announced, it was going to be a big thing of, oh, how's this going to compare to Skate 3? Who the fuck does a parking job like that? Buddy, you cannot park there. It was going to be a huge comparison about how, oh, Skate 3's this big magnum opus, its peak. How can you do better than that? And the simple answer is you can't. And you were never going to be able to. I will never, ever say that Skate 4 is better than Skate 3. And that's just because it can't be. It never will be. Skate 3 was easily one of the best skate games ever made. So to say that Skate 4 is ever going to be even relatively close to on par, I feel like is insane. However, I see a lot of people using Skate 3 as a nostalgia scapegoat to call this game awful when it isn't. I do think there's a few things in this game, a handful at least, that are not the greatest or that need to be fixed. But I think a lot of the criticisms that I've seen of people are immediately invalidated by the fact that they are either coming to the game or don't exist in the entirely that you're making out to be. One of the biggest complaints for this game that I've seen is obviously the character creator, the appearance of people. And while I think it's not the best, I don't think it's as bad as people are saying, because on one hand, yeah, it's definitely Fortnite-y, but to be fair, if we're using this from like a character creator standpoint, it's not the worst I've seen, and it's far, far from it. But that's an argument for a minute. Obviously, one of the biggest complaints about this game has to be it being live service and have microtransactions. And I think that is a huge, stupid fucking complaint because one, the microtransactions are completely optional, and two, half the shit that you get in this game is completely free. Oh, but loot boxes are in the game. They're so stupid. They're free. Oh, but the live service challenges. The challenges existed in Skate 3. I've seen so many people complain about challenges resetting and live service shit. 90% of the live service shit is completely optional. And the microtransactions in any game always are. You never have to buy microtransactions for a game if you do not want to. And I do think there's a lot of stuff missing in this game, and I can kind of agree with the argument that there could have been a bit more in this game. They would have just kind of let it simmer for a bit. I think that there's a lot of areas in this game that are primarily made for skating rather than what Skate 3 has, which is just kind of explore a lot of the locations. In Skate 3, it is kind of important to go find really not supposed to be skated locations and go skate at those locations. Where in Skate 4, it does kind of feel like every place is just kind of like skate on this because it's a skating game. Like, I don't think there's a place that feels like you shouldn't skate on it. Like hell, even this tree is slanted so that way you can use it as a ramp. Like, that to me feels a bit weird. I don't get this. I feel like this could be completely flat and it wouldn't be a complaint at all. Like, every rail feels like it's meant to be grinded on. Every place feels like it's meant to be climbable. Hell, even the places out here are supposed to be climbable. You can climb this light tower. But there's also shit being added to the game, like in the roadmap, it says something about, let me look real quick. In Season 3 and beyond, we are going to get open world collection. So to me, that immediately screams that there's going to be a collectible up top there, and that's the reason it's climbable, because there's literally nothing up there as of now. We also get player-created parks. You know the thing that I've also heard fucking complaints about? There is so much shit coming to this just looking at the roadmap that it's weird to me that these are even complaints. And it's something that I've realized is that people don't realize this is an early access game. I think that's kind of like an oversight that people aren't really thinking about when they play this. Granted, I don't really think about it either because it doesn't feel like it's an early access game. I feel like there's a lot of things in this game that are missing, but a lot of them are coming or could easily be coming. One of people's biggest complaints was, oh, the Hall of Meat. The Hall of Meat's not in here. Yeah, because that could be something that could get added in the future. The amount of these tall-ass buildings that you could just skydive off of, the amount of places that are literally made for you to hurt yourself, I have a very, very big feeling that a Hall of Meat is almost guaranteed to be coming. I do think that the look of some of the characters and NPCs does look a bit weird and more cartoony and Fortnite-ish, but at the same time, I've seen customization be done worse in a lot of games. I do think that the NPCs are very lackluster, considering we had a bunch of people that in Skate 3, if you met an NPC, they would usually become part of your crew. Or somebody like Coach Frank, which God rest his soul, if he doesn't get added to this game, I'm throwing hands. But it feels like a lot of the NPCs in this game kind of lack that, because you have things like V, right? The AI that kind of tells you what your next mission is, where to go, and I've heard a lot of people talk about how she screams in your ear and doesn't shut up. She's toggleable. You can toggle her off. You don't have to listen to what she's saying if you don't have to. And half the time, the NPCs don't even pop up. I can't even remember the last time I've heard any of the other characters talk. I have been skating around for the last 30 hours doing a lot of these challenges. I don't hear them like ever. It feels like a rare occurrence when I do. I genuinely forget there's other characters that are supposed to be in the game. And I've heard complaints about people saying, oh, there's no story mode in the game. There's not really a reason to do this. I'm sorry. But when you were playing Skate 3, was your first immediate thought, I need to complete the story mode? I guarantee you, like 90% of the people that want to complain about that have barely ever played the story mode. They haven't really touched it because they never really cared about the story. Hell, half the people that have complained about challenges kind of forget the fact that Skate 3 had challenges in the exact same regard as it does here. Challenges in Skate 3, you did a challenge, got you more boards, leveled up your crew, and you got cosmetics. In this game, you get more points to level up your shop to get cosmetics. It's just kind of like a redone version of the exact same mechanic. And every building here feels like, oh, it's meant to be skated. We're gonna make this building primarily to be skated on. This building, for example, is the biggest one. This building literally has a giant Y in the middle, so that way you can skate on it, because it's meant to be. But then at the same time, stuff like the spillway, the quarry, and the Super Ultra Mega Park is exactly that. This is exactly what the Super Ultra Mega Park is. It's meant to be skated on. It is built to be skated on. A lot of the buildings in 3 are meant to be skated on. I feel like a lot of people hate this game because it's not exactly their definitive thing for Skate, when it's also, reminder, in early access. Oh, there's a Skate Pass coming in next month. Okay, don't buy the Skate Pass. Does a Battle Pass change how this game plays? No, because for no game has it ever. I do hate that there's a bunch of microtransaction live service games, but at the same time, they are always optional. And I think complaining about shit like that is really, really stupid. What the fuck is that thing? What the fuck is happening right now? I think complaining about stuff like a battle pass and like microtransactions in a game that are completely optional is a really weird complaint to have 90% of the time. Because yeah, it sucks that those things do exist, but at the same time, like, you don't have to buy them. You don't have to do this. You don't have to feed into them, but most of the time these people do anyways. Oh, the customization is really weird. There's not a lot of character customization. Yeah, because it's early access. What did you want, an entire scroll of hairstyles? Yeah, I agree. The hairstyles are almost like slim to none. there's like nothing in here, and they're either the most generic things or the most whacked out nobody has ever worn this haircut in the world. And I think this comes from a thing that I have with character customization, where I think personally, stuff like Sims 4 might genuinely be one of the worst character customized creators I've ever seen. For this exact reason. There's like 12 hairstyles in the game, and they're also like gender gapped. So half of them are female, half of them are male. So if you're trying to make a guy character, you have a very limited selection of hairstyles that you can choose from, right? But at the same time, this is early access, and this has like just as many as like Sims does. Plus Sims makes you spend like $40 for 3 extra hairstyles. So I don't really see this being a complaint. This also just comes from an idea of like, this feels the closest I could possibly get to me in a game, so I'm kind of fine with the way this looks, because this feels like me in a game as close as I could possibly get right off rip. But a lot of things that games don't do is stuff like facial hair and splitting this. I think that Mies might be the best character creator that has ever been made. And one of the things I hate about The Sims or stuff like Baldur's Gate, even though I love that game, is you really only get a handful of styles. You either get a full thick beard or stubble. That's really the only betweener that you get. You either get a nothing burger, a full beard, or a mustache. There's not even a goatee option here, but they at least allow you to add stubble under them. That's something that a lot of games don't do, and I can kind of give it a bit of push for that. But yeah, stuff like the way that these guys look and the character creators could easily be better. But at the same time, for early access, it doesn't feel like a terrible thing. And once again, you can even literally look at the roadmap and there's more character slots, etc. tattoos. Tattoos in my mind means that they're gonna add a lot more character add-ons like piercings, or maybe even watches or rings. But something like tattoos could add a whole variety. Each season includes new cosmetics, so you get more clothing. Tattoos could also lead into just a wide variety of more. This is early access. I highly doubt this is the max that we're getting for hairstyles. I think that when you see that the character creation improves with more options and more of this, I think it becomes less and less of an argument that you can make of it being lackluster and of it being nothing. Because when stuff is being added to a game currently, it feels like a stupid complaint to immediately say that, oh, there's nothing here, so I hate it, and so it's bad. There even includes an each season includes section. New skatable areas each season. So we will get map reworks every few months. New challenges, new seasonal events, new brand partners, new tracks added to the soundtrack, which is another thing that I think this game does perfectly. I will say graphics don't look the best. I wish the locations looked a bit better, but I feel like there's such a nostalgia ridden for this game when half the shit that I see being complained about is being added to the game. The roadmap is on the Steam page. You can go read it. One of the things that I do not like, and I hope to God does eventually get fixed, is the fact that when you go into build mode, there's only like 5 things that you can place, and they have to be placed on the ground. If they're placed above, they won't drop down. So they have to be placed here, and then they have to be like added onto each other for it to connect. And I think having this little of building with this many building items, because you unlock them per level up as well, I think that's kind of one of the biggest complaints I have about this, because a lot of the buildings were kind of the reason that you were able to do a lot of the cool tricks that you were in Skate 3. But complaining about a live service game, especially when it's EA, so you kind of know that it's going to be a live service game, when the live service doesn't take away from the game, like what I'm doing now has nothing to do with it being a live service game. Skating around doesn't have anything to do with it being a live service game. Rolling, doing the challenges has nothing to do with it being a live service game. Some of these cool tricks that you're able to do, like the one that, hell, I even have the short of me fucking completing it somehow, is this, just going into the church. But this also goes into that thing of like every place is kind of meant to be skated on. This church isn't a church, it's just a skating place. There's an entire skate park inside the church. But over here, and I haven't seen anybody try any tricks with this yet, there's an entire slide right here. You can go in here. Missed it. You're able to fall down here and land in the trash can. You're gonna look at me, look at this, and tell me that a Hall of Meat basically isn't made for this? this isn't made so the Hall of Meat can be added eventually. To an extent, I am a bit worried that the Hall of Meat won't be added because, sometimes games with their one big thing don't usually do, or it won't be the same when it does. I am a bit worried that it won't be the same, but from the way that this plays, this is just Skate 3 kind of done differently, especially gameplay-wise. I think there's a lot of things in here that is done better than Skate 3, but there's easily stuff in here that will never be done even relatively similar. I do like that some of these locations reset, and we are getting player-created parks as well, but I wish that there was more locations like that reset. There's only 3 of them, and one of them, this one, hasn't reset yet. So I don't know if this one's supposed to be like a weekly reset while the other 2 are daily resets, or if this is like a fan favorite that they just don't want to get rid of yet. I don't think that this game is bad, and I think using the word bad immediately kind of discredits the entire thing. Or at least kind of what they've done with the game. I wouldn't say this game is bad, but there's a lot to be desired. And half that shit that you desire is coming. Just read the roadmap. It's literally right fucking there. All you're doing is screaming to the masses about Skate 3 being the greatest, but you can't critique the game because you stop trying to critique what is there and what does function. You try to critique it on the greatest thing ever and compare it to something that will never be beat. You cannot compare an early access version of a new game to a fully completed decade-old game. It just doesn't make sense. There is so much stuff to be added. There is so much stuff that isn't here because it's early access that I think complaining that it isn't here when you have zero idea what the full release is going to be like, you cannot complain about an early access. You have to take what is there, realize more is coming, and realize it is a live service game. This is not it. There is more, but people want to complain about something because they just want a voice that does nothing. It doesn't make sense. It is a complaint that doesn't even matter, and it makes you seem like you don't understand anything. If you're gonna critique an early access build, critique it for the things that are in the build, not things that do not exist or were in a previous game. Whether you want to call this Skate 4 or call it a new version of Skate, even if it is a reboot of the entire franchise, I think that makes it a worse argument to say that things were in a prior version when you yourself call this a reboot. This is early access. Realize that before you try to make an argument.